After the decent performance of the first Spider-Man game, Treyarch had a lot of options to make the sequel even better. Spider-Man 2 thankfully improves on everything from the first game, creating not just a good movie-based game, but one of the best superhero games of all time. Spider-Man 2 follows the plot of the film, but like the first game, it adds a bit more to create a longer narrative. A big addition to the game's plot is the introduction of Black Cat, who was rumored to have once been part of the film, but was cut. Black Cat is a great addition and a great character to have when Peter starts to doubt whether to be Spider-Man or not. Also, like the first game, there's a few side villains to deal with. This time Spider-Man has to deal with Rhino, Mysterio, Shocker, and Doc Ock. However, Rhino only appears once and barely makes any impact on the plot. The other villains have more of an impact, especially Mysterio, whose alter ego Quentin Beck also deals with Spider-Man. The biggest change from the first game is that there are no more restrictions on where Spider-Man can go. All of New York is yours to explore, and it's quite easy to veer away from the main campaign and go web-swinging around the city. It's awesome to be able to crawl up the Empire State Building and then take a swan dive off of it. There's also plenty to do around the city aside from just swinging. You can search for tokens scattered around, take part in races for the best time, deliver pizza, take photos for the Daily Bugle, and race to reach Mary Jane for dates. With all of this added stuff to engage in, you can see why it's easy to avoid taking part in the main campaign. However, the one negative to this long list of side objectives is that there's really no reward for completing them. You can spend hours searching for every hidden token and completing every race, but you'll receive nothing for your efforts. There are a list of awards that you will obtain after completing these objectives, but they're basically nothing. It would have been better if the game unlocked extra costumes like in the first game, or gave the player the ability to play as Doc Ock. In addition to these side objectives, you can also help the citizens of New York with various random events. These events include stopping carjackers, criminals stealing from armored trucks, gang fights, gang ambushes, people needing to go to the hospital, rescuing people from sinking boats. These events are fun, though they can tend to repeat after a while. Don't be surprised if you have to stop 3 carjackings in a row. Combat is a bit more simplistic than the first game, with most of Spider-Man's moves being mapped to one button. Thankfully though, you can now use Spider Sense to dodge incoming attacks Matrix style, and then follow up with a melee hit or a web attack. Spider-Man can also sprint into enemies, launching them high up into the air. It's extremely satisfying to punch an enemy right up into the air, then jump up after him and pummel him down into the ground. Spider-Man's web abilities are also more enhanced this time around. In addition to just webbing up enemies, you can launch them into the air, swing them around, web up multiple enemies at once, and even disarm them of their weapons. The game also has a different progression system from the first game. You'll have to check off objectives off a to-do list before the game will allow you to move on with the story. Usually the list includes objectives that you'll have to complete as part of the chapter, however you're going to also have to collect a set number of hero points in order to complete it. You receive hero points for completing objectives that are either part of the chapter or any of the side quests that you wish to engage in. While collecting hero points might seem like a cheap way of extending the game's length, it's not that terrible. The game never really asks you to obtain an impossible amount of points before moving on to the next chapter, so it never really becomes a problem. Also, you're free to do whatever side quest you want to gain the hero points, so it's not like the game is dictating what you should exactly do at any given time. The presentation is a bit different from the last game, giving more of a comic book feel while still invoking a sense of realism. The open world of Manhattan looks good enough, though there are some draw distance issues when falling from great heights, and objects begin to pop in as you reach the ground. Tobey Maguire returns, and he's joined by Alfred Molina and Kirsten Dunst, along with video game voiceover talents John DiMaggio and James Arnold Taylor. Bruce Campbell also returns for the opening tutorial sections, and again he uses his humor to great effect.
Well, sequel time already, huh? Welcome back, I guess. I'm sure you miss me more than I missed you. Anyway, things have changed around here since last time, so they dragged me back at great expense to explain what's up.
Overall, Spider-Man 2 is a big improvement over the first game. The open world and all of its activities make Spider-Man 2 much more engaging. The only real negative is that while there is plenty to do in the game, there's no meaningful reward for doing any of it. Still, even with the lack of a reward for completing the side missions, Spider-Man 2 is still fun and easily one of the best superhero games of all time. So after creating one of the best Spider-Man video games of all time, can Treyarch continue the trend with another game? Well, we'll find out when we review Ultimate Spider-Man.
After all, there's still only one Spider-Man.